Hi, I'm Jeff with Chandler Systems. In this video, we're going to be unboxing and assembling our revolutionary ZappR radon removal system. Let's get started. The ZappR ships in 3 boxes, so box A, B, and C, and you're going to install them in this order. So I'm going to start opening them up and I'm going to show you what's inside. So in the first box, I have unboxed the aeration tank as well as the pump, which is in box E. In the next box, we had the pump tank that the pump's going to go into, and then the storage tank. And there's a few other items you want to take note of. We got the aeration manifold assembly, which is going to go on this tank. We got box D and then box F, which we'll get into in a little bit. So now that we've got everything opened up, we can start putting things together. Before we begin assembling these tanks, we just want to check and make sure that the nuts which connect these pipes to the bottom manifold on the bottom of each tank are tight. So it's a hand tight nut, just like on these connections here. You just want to tip it back and just make sure that those connections are tight. Next, I'm going to open up the pump box, box E, and I'm going to drop the pump into this tank before we connect these things together. The reason being, if you don't have enough ceiling height to pick this all the way up, you're going to need to tip this tank down. That's going to be a lot easier to do before you start connecting things. So now I can go ahead and connect these tanks. You're just going to push together these black PVC fittings here at the bottom and just tighten down the nut by hand. These are just hand tight nuts that seal with an O-ring. So no need to tape the threads, don't put any dope on the threads, don't put a wrench on the nut, just push it together and hand tighten it. So next I'm going to take the air manifold assembly, I'm going to open this up and put it on top of the aeration tank. You want to make sure that this open port is facing towards the back, and this just pushes down and the nut is going to tighten around it. And again, that's an O-ring seal, so just hand tight, no need to put any tools on that or any kind of sealants. So next, I'm going to adjust my quad train. This is where the air gets sucked into the unit, and depending on your well pump capacity, you may need to modify this. So you'll notice there is a plastic bag included in one of your boxes that will have 2 extra injectors and a black plug for the quad train. The quad train comes set up with 2 injectors and 2 plugs already in it. This is a setup for 5 gallons per minute of service flow. You can customize this for a higher or lower service flow rate as needed. So for instance, if you have 2.5 gallons per minute of service flow, you'll want to remove one of the white injectors and replace it with the plug. If you have 7.5 gallons per minute of service flow, you'll want to replace one of the black plugs with an injector. And if you have 10 gallons per minute of service flow, you're going to want to remove both of the plugs and replace them with injectors. So if you need to do that, all you need to do is take a Phillips head screwdriver and you can push out the plug or the injector like so and replace it as needed. So when you're putting the quad train back into place after, if you needed to add or remove any injectors, just make sure that the white check valve, this is where the air actually gets sucked in from, make sure it's facing this direction and that it is down. This black plug should be on top, the white check valve should be on the bottom and facing out that away. Just make sure those nuts are hand tight, and again, make sure that the check valve is here and the plug is here. When water comes in the unit, it's going to go into the quad train from that direction, and the air is going to get drawn in there to go into the aeration tank. So next we're going to mount the blower assembly. You'll find this in box D. You're going to need a flathead screwdriver, and this is the only item that you're going to need a tool for. So in box D, you're going to find the blower motor, the air filter, and then some PVC piping, as well as a clamp. So you'll need to remove these top 2 screws first. These come already threaded into the bracket. And then the bottom screws just back out enough that you can hang the blower onto them. So the blower is going to mount with this end up. Next, we're going to attach the air filter, and that just slips on the bottom of the blower motor like so, and just tighten that clamp. Now I'm going to attach the pipe. This is the last portion of this subassembly. You're going to push this down into the top of the blower motor. Don't use any sealants or anything, just push that in and then connect the nut. So now we're getting into box F, which is where we'll find the drop pump controller. There's also a relay box. The pump controller gets mounted right on top of the pump tank. Just push it down into that metal fitting and tighten the nut around it. We're just gonna mount the relay box on this bracket here. So there's 3 hooks on this bracket. This one obviously will go in the middle, and then these 2 will hang right on here. So make sure you line up that middle bottom one, and it just hangs there like that. So you've got 3 wires, you've got a power cord, and then you've got these 2 for the blower and the solenoid. One's gonna have 2 pins, one's gonna have 3 pins. So power plugs in here. The 2-pin connector plugs in right here. And these are keyed, so you can't screw it up. Just plug it in and tighten that nut. The 3-pin connector plugs here. Over here, we've got a pressure transducer. You wanna make sure that this is facing up just like it is. If it got jostled in shipping, it might be facing some other direction. Just make sure it is facing vertically. And it's gonna get plugged into the other side of our pump controller. So finally, we've got the float right here, has another cable that's going to mount in the bottom left side of the pump controller. Just like that. So you're gonna notice you got 4 different electrical cords here. I'm gonna show you where you plug them in. First, the one coming off of the blower motor is going to plug in to the bottom of the speed controller on the side of the relay box. The one coming off the solenoid is gonna plug in to the bottom of the relay box where it's labeled solenoid. The one coming off the pump will plug in right beside that where it's labeled pump. And finally, the last cord coming out of the relay box itself is what you're going to plug into your 110 volt outlet. This just needs to be on a dedicated 15 amp circuit. Now that everything's all assembled and plugged in properly, you can go ahead and plumb this in. So coming from your well, after your pressure tank and any pre-treatment that would be necessary, your filter, your softener, etc., you're going to go into this solenoid. So we got a 3/4 inch female NPT fitting. You're gonna run your water into there from your pre-treatment. There's a 1-inch male NPT fitting here after the pump tank. You're gonna run this to a pressure tank, preferably 32-gallon pressure tank with at least 9 gallons of drawdown, and that's going to go to the rest of your plumbing in your home. Finally, this 2-inch PVC at the top of the aeration tank, this is where you're going to connect to your radon ventilation piping to vent it off outside of the house. Just be sure to follow all local codes when doing so. And this completes our assembly.